We're here to take an historic step for American innovation and consumer protection as we undertake the first ever legislative markup for digital assets legislation. The legislation we're considering today is more than a decade in the making. 15 years ago, the Bitcoin whitepaper was published under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. The paper envisioned a global financial network built on peer-to-peer permissionless transactions of digital assets using public, cryptographically protected distributed ledger technology. Since then, thousands of builders, innovators, and entrepreneurs have worked to make that vision of a more inclusive financial system a reality. Terms like cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and the digital asset ecosystem are now part of the everyday lexicon for millions of Americans and people around the world. This is a software revolution and a financial revolution if done correctly. Developers are using blockchain technologies as the building blocks to create the next generation of decentralized internet technology, also known as Web 3, which will give individual users more ownership over their data, transactions, and finances. For more than a century, America has been the global leader in technology innovation, invention, and adoption. The ideas turned into innovative technology by American ingenuity have been central to human progress, and digital assets are no different. As other jurisdictions like the UK, the EU, Singapore, and Australia have moved forward with clear regulatory frameworks for digital assets, the United States is at risk of falling behind. We intend to change that today. This committee is taking that first step to fix that problem. I remind my colleagues that joint stock companies were once an innovation that some claimed were only used to facilitate fraud. It took decades to figure out how to properly regulate these, which were predecessors of the modern-day LLCs and equity stock ownership forms that we have. Just as joint stock companies were revolutionized how companies are owned, digital assets and their underlying blockchain technology hold the same promise to revolutionize ownership in the digital economy. Modern American banking law also developed over generations, from Lincoln's National Currency Act to the Interstate Banking and Branching Efficiency Act of the 1990s, and the evolutions that still occur today. We're taking similar actions today by bringing these relatively new innovations into the regulatory perimeter. Our comprehensive digital asset market structure bill recognizes a key issue. Digital assets that are not inherently securities may be offered as a part of an investment contract, but that does not make them necessarily securities. To clarify how the Supreme Court's Howey test applies to digital assets, our bill focuses on two key issues: decentralization and functionality. That is the crux of the Fit for the 21st Century Act, the pairing of those two factors. This legislation was developed not in a vacuum. It is the result of years of bipartisan efforts and numerous hearings, from the bipartisan hearings on Facebook's now defunct Libra project to our bipartisan investigation into the collapse of FTX, to the record 6 digital asset hearings we've held this Congress alone. This includes our unprecedented collaboration with the House Agriculture Committee as well. Our bill also responds directly to the calls from this administration, the Biden administration, for Congress to act through the reports issued under President Biden's executive order and from the President's Working Group on Financial Markets. And finally, it's important to note that this legislation includes the robust consumer protections that members on both sides of the aisle have called for. At its core, this bill ensures everyday investors are not left with less protections than institutional investors. Additionally, at today's markup, we'll consider Majority Whip Tom Emmer's Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, and we will also consider several bipartisan bills to protect our national security, including Mr. Nunn's Financial Technology Protection Act, Subcommittee Chair Luetkemeier's Stop Fentanyl Money Laundering Act, Ranking Member Waters' No Russian Agriculture Act, and Mr. Lynch and Nunn's Exposing China's Support for the Taliban Act. I look forward to a robust debate today and taking the first step to provide much-needed legal clarity and certainty for the digital asset ecosystem.